Alright, Brush Monkeys, we're back and we're taking on the Sisters of Battle Seraphim. That's these ladies with the jetpacks on them. And you can see I've got them on corks right now, but that's just a temporary thing while they were being primered. As you can see, I've got their bases all corked up. I'm getting ready to paint them. Once I get the bases airbrushed, sorry, I got a little sunlight on that one. Once I get the bases airbrushed up and get the base bands painted and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to paint the bases first, unlike most of the things where I do the figures first and then do the bases. With these, I'm going to do the bases first, and then I'm going to paint the, I'm going to glue the Seraphim to them because of the nature of their flight stands, and then I'm going to paint the Seraphim. So I'm going to go ahead and go do that and airbrush these, and then I'll come back and show you what they look like when they're all finished, and then we'll glue some Seraphim to them. Alright? Alright, see you soon. Alright, I'm back, and the bases for the Seraphim are all nice and painted up. They look pretty spiffy. They've all got the base bands painted already and dragon scale wax applied. And they're all looking pretty good. And apparently my laundry's done. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got the Seraphim on these corks. I'm going to go ahead and glue them to the bases here. It seems a little bit weird to do it in this order where the bases are already done, but then I'm painting the Seraphim. But this flight stand that the Seraphim are on will kind of keep whatever paint goes on up here from getting on the bases. So the bases being finished is not a problem. And like I said, it's kind of a necessity because painting I could paint the Seraphim on the cork here, but if I put them on the base when I primered it, then when I do the zenithal priming from on top, all that's going to mess up the base. So I had to prime them separately and do the bases separately. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the girls onto the base, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I'll see you in a bit. Alright, Brush Monkeys, the Seraphim are all glued to their bases, and they're put in their Citadel painting handles, which will make them a little easier to manipulate. Be able to turn this way and that to get all the detail on them. These ladies are going to be painted in the Order of the Ebon Chalice, which is going to be black armor and white robes, with, I believe, red lining, but I think I'm going to need to check the codex on that to be sure. I want to paint them right. Otherwise, their backpacks are going to be black. Their jetpacks are a little strange in that, unlike Space Marine jetpacks that only have like one big jet, these have 4 small ones on either side. So I still want to do an OSL effect with those. If I can zoom in on it a little bit. Yeah, see, that's a little bit different jetpack. I'd still like to do an OSL effect with those and make it look like that's where the energy that helps them fly is coming from. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to involve the SOTAR 2020 on that one. And because the jetpacks are going to be black and their armor's black, but their robes are white, to kind of keep that angelic feel to them, I think the Order of the Ebon Chalice usually has black hair. I'm going to paint their hair white like I did with the other sisters, so it'll stand out from that black armor a little bit. And I'm also going to, on these straight pieces of the wings, on the front and back, I'm just going to paint a little white line on them, so it almost looks like white, like not quite white wings, but like the white feathers sticking out from behind them. And I think that's going to help. I'm also going to try to do a little bit of an OSL effect. And then you can see she's got this plasma gun, plasma pistol. Plasma pistols are usually too small to do a really effective OSL on, but since I'm doing a tiny little OSL on the jets anyway, I'm going to try to go ahead and do it on the plasma gun as well. And I'll walk you through step by step how to do that, because it was something I wanted to cover in a future video anyway, how to do OSL. For those of you that don't know, that's object source lighting. It's a way of painting that plasma chamber so that it looks like it's lit up. And same with the jets. It's going to look like there's blue fire coming out of them by the time I'm done, if I do it right. So I will walk you through how to do that when the time comes. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start doing their faces and their hair and try to get some base coats down on these girls, and we'll come back and check on the progress here in a little bit. Alright, see you soon. Alright, I'm back and I've got the faces of the Seraphim done up with the texture paint and a base coat down on their hair. Not a whole lot of progress, but I wanted to stop and point something out that struck me as kind of funny. Is when the Sisters of Battle first came out back in the day, nobody really thought of this bob haircut that they have. If I can zoom in there a little bit, there you go. Nobody ever really thought too much of this bobbed haircut. It was just kind of the way they are. But with the internet and meme culture and everything now, this haircut has come to be known as the Karen, and it makes the Sisters of Battle look like the entire army wants to speak to your manager. That kind of struck me as kind of funny. So anyway, yeah, I've made some progress on the faces and what have you. They're all fairly different. I used Gullman Flesh on the leader. I used Dark Oath Flesh on 2 of them. I used Reichland Flesh Shade on 1, and this one has the Secret Weapon Flesh Wash, which makes it look kind of yellowish. But this one, get her in front of the camera. This one's haircut, you know, if I painted her blonde, she would look like somebody that I used to work with. Seriously. And some of you may be wondering why the gun barrels on this one are different than on the other one posed the same way, which is this one here. The reason for that is while I was drilling out this one's barrels, get her in the camera, there we go. While I was drilling out this one's barrels, I kind of screwed it up a little bit and broke the barrel. So I just cut them off and then cut pieces of round stock on there and drilled those out a little bit. So you can kind of see a little indentation on the ends there. Those would be painted black. And just gave her another little bit of variance. It's also why I turned her head so that it's not facing the same direction. Just to add a little bit of difference in between the poses. Because you've got the leader, Seraphim. She's a Seraphim Superior. You've got her. And then you've got 2 of each of the other kind of poses. And so I tried to make sure that they went on different flight stands. You know, it's held side by side. You can see one of them's on a slightly taller flight stand than the other one. And I did that with both pairs of the twins. Unfortunately, in addition to trying to make sure they were both on different flight stands, I inadvertently put them both on the same base. So I've got 2 similar bases there. I've got the little steel base, and then these 2 are on the same pose, and they're both on dirt bases. Just one of them done with Nuln Oil and one done with Agrax Earthshade, so they look a little bit different. But I wanted the 2 with taller flight stands to be kind of like there were 3 different heights of flight stands, and so I gave the Sister Superior the tallest flight stand. I gave the 2 on either side of her opposite bases and the medium flight stands, and I gave the 2 on the outside opposite bases and the shortest flight stands, so that it would make that kind of nice arrow formation kind of thing when they flew together. But so yeah, I just wanted to point out the faces are pretty much done. I'm going to do a layer of white on the hair. I still need to go research the armor and see if it's see if the robes are lined in red or if there's something else I need to do. If the robes are not lined in red, if they are in fact white all the way around, I think what I might do, just because I really like that Flesh Terror's red, and I would hate to have a unit of Battle Sisters where I'm not using it, what I might do is paint their corsets red. So their armor will be all black, but that corset right there will be that dark Flesh Terror's red. I think that's really going to look nice against the black armor and the white robes and the white on the wings. And so yeah, I'm going to go check that out and see what I can find about that. And then I will get some base coats down on these girls. Alright, so I will see you soon. Bye. Alright, we're back, and I looked in the codex, and the Order of the Ebon Chalice has white cloth with a red lining. And I realized as the cloth was all kind of wound around their legs and flowing out in back of them and that kind of thing, it's really hard to tell what's inside and what's outside on them. So I decided to take a little artistic license and change things up a little bit. And I did the corsets in red with the rest of the armor in black. And then the fabric will be in white when I get that done. So you can kind of get an idea from looking at this what it's going to look like. And I think it's going to look pretty spiffy when it's done. But I just did the corsets and the armor on all of them this time around for now. And I think that red, that's that Flesh Terror's red again, I think that really looks nice on there. I think that stands out nicely. It still ties them into the rest of the army. She is not wanting to focus. There we go. Yeah, I think that really ties them in nicely to the rest of the army. And I think that white fabric between the white hair and the I'm going to paint white lines on the back of the jetpacks, like I said. And I think that's really going to make them look good. That one I might kind of have to redo her face a little bit. But yeah. So they're all looking pretty spiffy. That armor is looking really nice. Again, I really like the contrast paints. I just see I missed a spot there, but I can touch that up pretty easily. Contrast paints, like I said, they tend to the contrast paints are cool, but they do their highlights, and I probably mentioned this in a previous video. The way they do their highlights is they kind of shrink up a little bit as they dry, so they pull away from the detail on the figures, and as a result, every so often you kind of have to go back and check over the whole figure and see where something may have pulled away from a point as it was drying. And you now have to touch that spot up a little bit. There's a few of them on here. There you go. She's looking all killer queen now. All right. So that's my update. I will go do the. I'm going to do the fabric probably in Ulthuan Gray first, and just do highlights in white. That's kind of the same way I do the hair. I know that looks like it's white, but it's actually Ulthuan Gray. It's a very light gray. And then when I put the white highlights on there, you'll definitely see a difference in it standing out and look very much more white. The insides of the fabric where I can identify them, I may just leave those as Ulthuan Gray to differentiate between that and the outside of being pure white. But I will worry about that when I get to the fabric. So I'm going to take a break now, and I will paint some more later. Alright, see you later. Bye. Alright, it's update time, brush monkeys. I've got the white parts, the emblems on their shoulders, their hair, the robes, the wings, done on them, on the Seraphim, and they are looking pretty spiff. I'm really liking how they're coming out. So I just got a couple little details left to do. I've got the guns and the metallic parts to do. So I'm going to go do the metallic parts next. And then, I don't know, figure out what I'm going to do from there. But they're looking pretty good so far. Let me see if I can zoom in a little and show you how good these guys look. Look at that. Look at that. That is gorgeous. And then there's the white part I was going to paint on the wings. You can kind of see it on the inside too. It looks a little rough, but I kind of wanted it to look a little rough. I wanted it to look like it was something that they painted on themselves as a kind of unit marking. So I wanted it to look a little hand painted on. Got just a couple little details to do, and like I said, the guns and the metallic parts. So I'm going to go ahead and go do the metallics, and then we'll come back and see what's going on. All right, yeah, see you soon. All right, brush monkeys. I got kind of a lot done on these girls. I got all the golds done. I got the steel done. I got the leather done. Got the if you can see it under there. I got the grenades done. Got pretty much everything done except the decals and the OSL effect on the plasma weapons and the jets. So that's what's up next. I am going to do the OSL effect, and then I'm going to put the decals on, and then these girls will pretty much be ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pause now and get set up to do the OSL effect, because that's all going to be with the airbrush. And got to be honest, I'm a little nervous about this because I'm really liking how these girls are turning out. They look really good. Zoom in on that one too. Yeah, see? Looking really, really good here. And I don't want to mess it up with the airbrush on such a tiny, tiny little spot. But I'm really pleased with how they're looking so far. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and get set up for the airbrush part, and then we'll go from there. All right? See you soon. All right, so we're back, and we're going to start the OSL on the jets on the back sides of the Seraphim here. And I'm going to use my airbrush for this, because airbrush is really good for doing OSL effects and that kind of thing, because you get that nice transition between the colors. And so I'm using my Sotar 2020 airbrush because I want that fine point control, because the jets are really, really god-awful tiny, as you can see on there. I'm also going to do this on the same OSL on the plasma gun, and the colors I'm using today are the Badger Minotaur Spellslinger Blue, and then I'm going to follow that up with again Badger Minotaur Sky Blue, and last but not least, in the very, very crevices, Badger Minotaur Snow White. All of that is going to be thinned down with a little bit of Tamiya X20A thinner, which I found is the best thinner for airbrush. This isn't the bottle it comes in. This is just a dropper bottle I put it in. It actually comes in a bottle. Let me go grab that bottle. It comes in a little like faux gas can kind of thing, like this. This is what you're looking for, X20A thinner. This is the best thinner ever, and you get it says 250 milliliters in here for about $9. So you get a lot of thinner for your price with that. So when doing the thinner through the airbrush, you always want to, or when thinning paints through the airbrush, you always want to put the thinner in first. And I keep this old brush around for the purposes of mixing stuff. But you always want to put the thinner in first, and then you'll put the paint in. So I'm going to do about, well, let's do a 2-to-1 mix of thinner to paint. Do 6 drops of thinner, 3 drops of paint, because like I said, I'm going to want it pretty small. Oh, that was too much paint. That's alright. And you stir it up in there. I got way too much paint in this, but then again I got six figures to paint, so. And you want a pretty thin consistency, like almost like a wash. If I can get in fairly close here, let me see. Give you what this looks like. Come on. Focus. Focus, you wanker. Okay, well that's not going to cooperate with me then. There we go, that's pretty close. Basically what I'm looking for is when I put it on the brush, and then brush it off here, you see how thin that is? See how that kind of pours right off there? That's what I'm looking for. So, what the? Oh, that's not good. Okay, so I'm going to go airbrush those little bits, and then I will come back and show you what it looks like. And then we'll go from there, alright? Alright, see you soon. Okay, I feel a little stupid. I was having a little bit of a pressure problem there, and I turned off the camera so I could go fix it and cuss at it without it all being on camera. Turns out the leg of my stool was on the hose. So, it also highlighted the fact that I hadn't actually shown how to prep these things. And what I've done here, if you can see, I didn't want to get back spray all over all the rest of the figure that I spent all that time painting. So I put a post-it note underneath the part that's actually going to be airbrushed. And all I'm doing for the OSL is you start out with your darkest color first. And I'm just kind of very lightly. Okay. Sometimes it wants to cooperate, sometimes it doesn't. Apparently my airbrush is a little bit camera shy. Alright. Apparently my airbrush is camera shy, which is a little weird, but you know, it happens. So as soon as I find my brush, okay, try this again. If you ever run into a thing where it's not blowing paint, but it should be, just put a little more thinner in it. It's not going to harm it. The great thing about the X20A thinner is that you can thin it down a lot. You can thin down paint a lot, and it doesn't make it runny. Like I'm trying to think of how I want to say it. If you thin something down with water a lot, it tends to separate to where you've got medium and pigment. With the Tamiya thinner, it really doesn't do that, which is one of the great things about it. Okay, there we go. Now I got some stuff going. All right, so all I'm doing is I'm taking the darkest color first, and I'm trying to blow it mostly on the vents there. And build it up until I got some good color. But you can see it's blown, it's a little over where the vents are. That overlap is fine. That's what's going to create your object source lighting. We'll go a little bit darker or a little bit lighter with the next color, and then sorry, this one's really not cooperating with that paper. Come on. The Sotar is notoriously temperamental as far as the thickness of what you're putting through it. So I'm finding I have to keep thinning it down a lot. And it's kind of why I'm wearing the gloves, so I can keep checking the paint consistency while I'm... Come on. There we go. Right. And it's okay to get in close and do a couple of layers to get a good consistent color on there. And sometimes your post-it note will slip off and that kind of thing, so. Yeah. Come on. Okay, so this segment could have been done a lot better, and this just goes to show that stuff will happen while you're doing this, you know. Best laid plans of mice and men and all that. Alright, there we go. Holy. Okay. Okay, so now we got all the vents. The OSL on the plasma pistol is going to be done the same way. So in this case, I'm just going to be really careful about where I'm aiming the airbrush, because I don't need to backmask it or anything. And again, you're just going to go the darkest color. Oh, my sweet summer child. I really need you to cooperate. Right now. Essentially, you're going to do the same thing with your plasma gun. You're just going to come in with the darkest color first, and you're going to overspray a little bit of the whole chamber. Okay, so now we've got the whole chamber and a little bit of the rest of the gun airbrushed with your darkest color. Then we're going to put the lightest color, or the lighter color in, and spray from there. And just try to get, like, if you've got, here's your plasma chamber, you're going to spray this much with the darkest color. You're going to spray that with the chamber itself with your mid-range color, and then you're going to spray just a little bit in the middle with your lightest color, the white. And like I said, I'll show you all that as I'm doing it. Hopefully, if I can get this to cooperate a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out my airbrush now and get ready to put the next color in. All right. So I'll be back in a little bit. All right. So I'm still cleaning out the airbrush, which is why the compressor's still running. But for the most part, the OSL effect is done on these Sisters of Battle here, and I'll show them to you here in just a second. I want to share a couple of little tips I've learned when dealing with the Sotar 2020, because it is a notoriously fickle little airbrush. First and foremost, it's really susceptible to tip dry because it has such a fine point. So get yourself, this is just a little plastic bowl. I got this at, I think, Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's meant to be a little rinse pot kind of thing. And I put a little piece of sponge in it. And all that is so when you're cleaning out your airbrush, you just poke that into the wet sponge, and it keeps the tip wet, so you don't have paint drying on it. And anytime you notice the stream, anytime you're spraying along and you notice the stream starts to lose some of its power, just kind of poke it into that sponge a little bit, and it should be good to go again. The other thing I've learned is, and this is what I'm doing right now, is I take some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and I put it in a little dropper bottle like this, and I run a cup full of it through the airbrush when I'm done cleaning it out. It just kind of helps move things along a little bit. If you've got one of these kind of pots used for cleaning out airbrushes, you notice I don't have a filter in mine. There's actually a reason for that. It's because, one, I don't care about the fumes. I grew up around smokers. But more importantly, when you've got the airbrush in there and you're hammering down on it and blowing that stuff through, you should be able to see some fumes coming out of the vent there. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but trust me, they're there. And that'll tell you also whether or not your tip is clean. As long as you've got fumes coming out, you've got paint coming out of it. So just go ahead and let that run. And so there you go. As far as the Sisters of Battle are concerned, they're looking pretty good. You can see I've got the OSL on there. I've got just a little bit of the blue on the outside, lighter blue down a little further, and then white in the vents themselves. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. The plasma gun on the Sister Superior looks fantastic as well. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Let me just zoom in, because that's what I can do here. Okay. Oh, there you go. See? We got that dark blue on the outside, a little light blue inside, and then on the very chamber itself, you got the white. I'm used to having this camera behind me, which is why I'm having a little hard time figuring out where it's pointed when it's in front of me. But yeah, they're all good to go. And so the next part of this project is going to be applying the decals to them. Just going through and checking the work and still blowing out the airbrush here. The Sertar 2020 airbrush takes a really long time to clean out because it has such a fine point on it. It's not like the Badger Patriot that is my workhorse brush. That tends to blow out really, really fast. And so you can switch between colors fairly easily. Difference being it's got a much larger nozzle on it, so it's not really suitable for the kind of fine control stuff I need to be able to do the tiny little air vents on these backpacks and the plasma gun in her hand. I normally don't even do OSL on a plasma pistol with the airbrush. I normally just save that kind of nonsense for a dry brush, and the airbrushed OSL I save for things like plasma guns and plasma cannons. I very, very rarely ever bother with a plasma pistol. I did it this time because I was showing how it was done. I don't actually have any more plasma guns. I've used up every plasma gun I've ever gotten in a kit. Plasma gun and plasma cannon. Used up every last one of them trying to outfit my Dark Angels. Ah, that's enough of that. So yeah, that's the other plasma guns I got were all with the Hellblasters that I got with the didn't have hardly anything built up in it. Alright. So there you go. There's Airbrushing OSL 101 for you. I'm going to go ahead and pause. I think the only thing left to do on these girls is attach the decals and matte seal them. So the Seraphim are almost done. I'm going to go ahead and pause here and go back to the workbench, and we will start putting some decals on. Alright, see you soon. Alright, I'm back and I've got the decals placed on the Sisters of Battle Seraphim. Get the zoom on here. Come on. Spending too much time playing with this, with the damn zoom. Alright, so there's the one on the back of the Sister Superior. And you can also see the OSL on the jet packs there, the jets, and on her plasma gun. So she's looking pretty good. And they're all looking pretty good. Now that I've got the decals on them, I'm going to give it probably 2 more coats of the Microset, which is the, or excuse me, Microsol, which is the setting solution that dissolves the decals and conforms them to the shapes, because most of them are, because they want the decals on the, or the codex showed the decals on the inside back of the robes. There's usually a fold in the middle of where the decal goes. You can see that on there. And so the Microsol will help that to conform to the shape that it's going on to, and help it set up a little better. That one's a little bit crooked. That's alright. So like that one's right on the crease. So the Microsol will help that. So I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to apply another coat, let it dry, so on and so forth. And once that's done, they're really only just need to matte seal them and gloss coat the parts that are supposed to be glossy, which really isn't that much. I think it's probably going to be the plasma chamber on the Sister Superior, and that's it. Maybe some of the gold. But yeah, I think for the most part these girls are pretty well done. So next time you see them, they're going to be completely finished and matte sealed and everything, and we'll be moving on to the next video. See you soon. Alright, brush monkeys, we are back, and as you can see, the Seraphim have been matte sealed. Their decals are on. They're all good to go. I am calling these girls done, and they look fantastic. Obviously, when this video posts, I'll be posting pictures of them on the Instagram page. But as you can see, they are looking pretty spiffy. So I'm really happy with how they came out. And I'm going to go ahead and call them done. So, thanks for watching. The next video up will be the Rapentia Superior. Again, I'm going to leave all these paints out because she uses the same palette as the rest of them. So, I will see you next week. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like. If you want to find out when new videos get posted, click subscribe. Comment below on what you want to see on future videos. Visit our Patreon site for lots of ways that you can support me in doing what I do. You can also visit our Instagram and Facebook pages to see all the miniatures that I paint on this channel, and see how you can get your hands on one of your own. So thanks a lot for your time, and thanks for watching my videos, and I will see you guys later. Bye.